Hello class, my name is Kristen LaFleche and I'm going to be speaking on behalf of Group 2 today. The rest of Group 2 includes Katherine Rivera, Christina Newcomb, and Kristina Bausher. And for Group 2's final presentation, we're going to be discussing the importance of sustainability in the hospitality industry. Now in this class, we've talked a lot about sustainable tourism. It is indeed what the class is about. And we've talked about what sustainable tourism is, what sustainability is, and how the tourism industry can move towards more sustainable practices that conserve natural resources and keep the long-term future of the planet in mind. This is a business strategy as well as a strategy of support for the environment. So more specifically in this presentation, we're going to be examining a case study about Starwood, which is a hotel and resort company that owns several different hotels and resorts throughout the world. And we're going to be looking at how they partnered with Conservation International in order to work towards more sustainable practices in their own branding. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to go to the next slide, and we're going to talk about the purpose of the report. So the purpose of this report is to really look at an example of a leading hotel brand that practiced sustainability while still operating at a full-service hotel. So sustainability, we're going to be discussing this later on, but it's very costly. A lot of times people in the industry cannot afford to be sustainable. That being said, it's very important. It's very important that we look long-term in protecting the environment, because without our natural resources in the future, we won't be able to continue to expand and thrive as a community. And so this presentation is really written to people of all ages that are either interested in travel, maybe they've traveled before, they've traveled a lot, maybe they've never traveled but are super interested. But also people who travel in business or for pleasure, but more specifically people who stay in hotels, because this project really focuses around Starwood Hotels and what they are doing to be more sustainable. So like I said, the case study we're going to be focusing on is about Starwood and their partnership with Conservation International. So through some of the research methods we've developed, we're going to be looking at how that partnership was really to address priority environmental issues. This included hotel-level initiatives that conserved water, reduced energy consumption, and enhanced the indoor environment quality, as well as minimize waste. All these things are very important. They're things that are very crucial to a hotel. There's a lot of water involved, whether it be for consumption or to use through laundry or showers. With so many people staying in a hotel, as hotels get bigger, and maybe they have pools, maybe they have other indoor water facilities, and it's very important that we think about water. Energy. Hotels are run by lights. There's a lot of lights involved. And just in general, minimizing waste. These are all great ways to be more sustainable. So we're going to be talking about how Starwood is going to do that. And so before we go into that, I thought it would be nice to give you guys a little introduction into Starwood and who they are, what they stand for, maybe what they look like, so you kind of have a better idea of who we're talking about as we go along in this project. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the video over to Starwood International's, their website, and we'll read a little bit about who they are. Okay, we are back. So as you can see, we're on starwoodhotels.com. And we're on the Our Company page, and we're going to look a little bit into the corporate profile of Starwood Hotels and Resorts. So if we come down here, we read that Starwood's one of the leading hotel and leisure companies in the world. They have over 1,270 properties worldwide, and this includes 100 countries. They also employ over 180,000 people to serve their guests. So it's a very big, very well-known company um, who really focus in on quality service. Um, so if you look down here, we also have a few of the brands to give you an idea of what Starwood owns. So they own St. Regis. And maybe you've heard some of these, maybe you haven't. The Luxury Collection, W, Weston, Le Méridien, Sheraton, Tribute Portfolio, 4 Points, Aloft, Element, and Design Hotels. So as you can see, they have a bunch of different very specific brands. They run all of these, and they just, like I said, really focus in on quality service. If we come over here to company values, we can also see, they value going the extra step to take actions that build lasting connections and loyalty. They play as a team. They work globally. They do the right thing. They respect their communities. They're committed to growing, to being strong, to being stable. And they also mention a partnership with global citizenship, which is something else they do to be more sustainable. But we're going to be focusing in on the Conservation International Partnership. And one last little bit, we're going to come over here to service commitment because I spoke about quality. And as you can see, they list the same values again. They talk a little bit about ambassadors, and they also have this Starwood Preferred Guest program, which is something they use to really care for their customers. And so in addition to showing you the website, I just wanted to show you a quick little video that introduces you to Starwood Starwood, just so you can get an idea of who we're talking about and what they look like when we discuss some of this further on. Alright, so now that you know a little bit more about Starwood, I hope you enjoyed that video. We can now move on to the next portion of our presentation. Alright, so what is sustainable tourism? Like I said, we've talked about sustainable tourism a lot in this class. It is exactly what this class is about. We've talked about why it's important. We've talked about what aspects of the industry it affects. We've talked about suggestions for moving forward in the future to be more conscious of the natural resources we're using. We've talked about the economic, the environmental, and the social impacts, the aspects, so to speak, of sustainability. So let's go ahead on to the next slide. So a sustainable business is one that's not only good for the community, but also has minimum impacts on the environment. That being said, it's also, for a sustainable business, it's important that they still turn a profit. Like I said earlier, sustainability is a new venture, and it's very costly. Like anything that's new, it's going to be costly. And so some of the more smaller businesses in the industry have a hard time dealing with this cost. So, some people just can't afford to be sustainable. That being said, the reason why it's so important for these companies in this industry to pursue sustainability is that these practices preserve and conserve our resources. Resources like I discussed, water, energy, waste reduction. These are all very important things in order to be socially responsible and considerate of our future generations and what's going to be left for us after we, potentially destroy what we have in front of us. So the hospitality industry and tourism industry manage a balance between livability and visitation. So, we discussed how not only is it important for the tourism industry to expand throughout the world, but it's also important to consider the community and consider the impact of tourism. So visitors to a site, hotel, or other businesses must have appreciation for sustainable practices. So therefore it can then result in action. Management can do anything they want to try to be more sustainable, but if the guests can't appreciate it and if the guests don't embrace the sustainability, the goals are kind of difficult to achieve. Ultimately, it fails. Because again, you have to have a balance between being sustainable and, having the guests be satisfied. So on the management side of the sustainability equation, you have people like meeting planners, consultants, hoteliers, restaurateurs, employees, as well as other stakeholders that must balance the needs for sustainable planning and management with bottom line results. Alright, so also as the demand from guests for sustainable practices increase, there's often a combination with the demands that stockholders have that they might call for sustainability because they want it in their organization's culture. So there's going to be some pressure in the tourism industry from stockholders. So not only is sustainability going to become about conserving our natural resources and protecting the environment, but also it's going to really start to, trend towards the business side of things. And, as stockholders call for sustainability, it really will become about business. Now we're going to move on to the next portion of our presentation, which is the consequences of not being sustainable. These include energy waste, water waste, and food waste.